What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another legendary comparison video. So since the Peacekeeper Vivid Notes has officially been released, I think it's high time to actually discuss which of the two legendaries are better. Is it the Vivid Notes or is it going to be the Crust Punker? So both of these legendaries are pretty fantastic in their own ways. Some aspects of them might be better than others, but for the most part, these are very solid legendary skins. Unfortunately for the Crust Punker, though, it's not really a recognized legendary since it hasn't really had enough time to shine. And this basically brings us to the first legendary, which is the Crust Punker. And this came out around, I believe, around near Thanksgiving time of 2022, I believe, or 2021. It was kind of like an unexpected legendary. I didn't think that the Peacekeeper was actually going to get one. But it actually caught me by surprise, and of course, I decided to buy it during that time because I was actually curious to see how much different this would be from the Mythic skin. I think back then I also made a comparison video between the Crust Punker and the Peacekeeper Artifact Mythic skin, and I know a lot of people didn't really approve of it because they didn't think it was like a fair challenge, but I mean, I think actually this gun actually won in terms of iron sights, and that's probably one of the bigger selling points about the Crust Punker is actually the iron sight. So I did talk about this in the Vivid Notes video that sometimes the iron sight for the artifact isn't really that great. So sometimes I would go to the Crust Punker or something like some other Peacekeeper skin, so it could be a little bit easier. And usually the Crust Punker is kind of like some sort of comfort iron sight, like a comfort weapon. If I'm having trouble using the artifact for the iron sight for whatever reason, because I don't know, my skill seems to fluctuate every day. Sometimes I'll play really good, sometimes I'll just play complete shit. And yeah, there'll be days where I'm just somewhat in the middle. But when there are days where I can't even handle a weapon's recoil pattern or an iron sight, I always switch to a different blueprint. With the Crust Punker's iron sight, it does make it a lot easier to aim compared to the artifact, and maybe even the Vivid Notes. So in terms of its physical design, it kind of has this sort of, well, punk theme, but it seems more like some sort of Hot Wheels hot rod thing. If anything, this is kind of like the Hot Wheels legendary skin for this game. And honestly, with the colors, it does kind of make sense, and it does have fire around all those different mufflers that are around the weapon. And it even has this weird torpedo in the back of the gun. You can't see it when you're actually playing in game, but you can see it pretty well when you're in the menus and everything. It doesn't really do anything. It's just there for the most part. But while the iron sight is pretty good, the structure, yeah, it's all right, but it doesn't really compare to the Vivid Notes, including the animations, death effect, and even the firing sounds. So first off, the firing sounds. It does change it, from the original Peacekeeper. It makes it sound like more of a natural gun. But I will admit, I mean, it's not as, it doesn't capture that, I guess, magical thing like the Vivid does. I know a lot of people would prefer that more than the Crust Punker. Reload sounds are also there, but it's not really that important either. I mean, well, this one, it's there, but it's relatively quick. I mean, the Peacekeeper's reload is usually the quickest, well, one of the quickest reloads for assault rifles. So again, it's not something you're gonna really care to notice. The same goes for the Vivid Notes. But overall, when it comes to different effects, animations like the fire, I mean, it is cool to see, but again, it's sometimes it's not really that noticeable. I would have loved if there was a little bit more fire with the mufflers that would come out instead of it just only really flaring up when you get a kill. And that's one thing that kind of bothers me about the legendary skin. But overall, the only good redeeming quality is just the iron sight. I mean, it's nothing really special to use, and that's probably why it's one of the more unheard of legendaries. I'm sure a lot of people knows of its existence, but again, it's not something that a lot of people would be very keen on buying. I think people would prefer a lot more if it was, something like the Vivid Notes. So now we move on to the newly released Vivid Notes. So this one, I've already made a review video on that, so if you guys want to look at that, I mean, you guys could go to my channel and see it. But yeah, so I'm just gonna keep it short with this one. So the structural design obviously is far superior, a lot more vibrant, and this is a reactive skin. I forgot to mention, I don't even know if the Crust Punker is actually reactive, but based on what I've seen, I think it's just more just reactive based on every kill that you get. But with this one does evolve over time. It becomes like, it goes from being dimmer to starting to light up a lot more, to the point where you see a lot of different like rainbow colors with it. The one thing that I really couldn't decide on is probably the iron sight. So like, it could really go both ways between the Crust Punker and the Vivid Notes. It's really up to personal preference. I know there might be some of you guys out there that might like the Crust Punker a little bit better because it takes up most of the screen and it's a little bit easier to use. And I will admit, I mean, there are some issues with this iron sight. It's not as precise as I would like it to be, like, you know, upon, you know, further gameplay. But I mean, it's still helpful nonetheless compared to like all the other skins that are out there, and I would say it's still better than the artifact. But if we're comparing it to the Crust Punker, it could go either way. So for the death effect as well, like, that's not something that will go either way. I mean, it's obviously a lot better than what we have with the Crust Punker, so I'll say that. But as for animations, yeah, it flares up a little bit less, but it does, you know, the effects are still there. You know, it's animated all over the gun. You may not see it right now because of like the fluorescent camo, but take my word for it, yeah, it is. It's kind of like this like purple animation. It's not like as fluid as it is with fluorescent, but I decided to put it on just to, I guess, show you guys how each blueprint looks like with the recent seasonal camo. So I did have some final results here. Overall, I mean, the Crust Punker is nowhere near as good as the Vivid Notes in terms of appearance, animations, death effects, sound effects. I mean, as like, you know, they're all unique to their own, but I would say the Vivid Notes looks a lot more refined. It looks a lot more cleaner, a lot more vibrant in color and everything. As for the iron sight, I left it undecided mainly because, I mean, yes, like I said, it could go either way. It just really depends on the player themselves, whether or not they want to use this one or the other one. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD mobile content, and I'll see you guys next time.